everyone, it's me again, John Lorden, here with another edition of BrainScratch, once again looking into the recent developments in the Kendrick Johnson case, a case that pulls at my heartstrings immensely, and a case in which a few families' lives have been turned literally upside down for a few years, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. Real quickly, there was a few developments over this past week, and one of the main ones was WSB-TV, a radio or a television station, got to interview the Bell brothers without any attorneys present, and the Bell brothers are now speaking very openly about their feelings, particularly about what they went through in the raids, but they also answer some pretty tough questions from the interviewer. I'm going to have a link down below so you can check out these segments yourself. They've posted, it looks like, a significant amount of their raw video, but they also have 3 different new segments there currently that you can check out. Here's a quick screenshot of the interviewer with Brian and Brandon, and it first strikes me, and it's interesting to me that this is such a reversal from where the Bell family was 2 years ago. This is a family that did not want to participate in this investigation originally when investigators were looking for information about what might have happened to Kendrick. They supposedly were advised by their attorney not to speak to authorities. As I've noted in previous videos, when Brian lost his scholarship with Florida State University, all of a sudden it seemed like he was starting to speak publicly, but there was a big piece of information missing in that story, which was that they didn't participate in the initial investigation. But this is just really a huge turn. Also, their mother was interviewed. It looked like she was there with her legal counsel, and KJ's mom was also interviewed with her legal counsel, so we're going to talk just a little bit about that. The two moms have pretty conflicting stories, and they have a really good clip of this at WSBTV.com. Essentially, the Bell family is saying that KJ was a very close friend, that KJ had even spent the night over at their house, and KJ's mom insists that never happened. There's no way that I would have let my son spend the night at someone's house in middle school. So definitely a big difference of opinion there. Both brothers seem to maintain that KJ was a close friend. Brandon actually even says that KJ might have been one of Brian's best friends. So it's kind of interesting to me that KJ's family either was not aware of that, or maybe in the pain that they're going through now, they're just not able to recall that information correctly. It's really kind of odd. The interviewer, who does a really good job, he's kind of an old school news guy, I really kind of like his style. At one point, he is talking to Brian and he asks him very directly, did you do anything to obstruct justice? Did you tell anyone not to speak about this case in any way or try to control information? And Brian has this reaction. This is literally a screenshot of his face from when he's asked that question. I'm not saying that this proves anything. I'm not saying that you should think this guy is lying, but it even occurred to the interviewer in this moment. He specifically says to Brian, hey Brian, people are going to, I know you're nervous, but if you smile when I ask you this kind of things, people might look into that. And he continues the interview with Brian, and Brian goes about 30-40 seconds before kind of smiling again. There are people that propose to be experts in terms of lie detection, and they might look at this as some sort of tell. I'm definitely not going to try to make that call here. I know he's nervous. There's a camera in his house. He probably doesn't deal with this type of thing every day. I think I've done some pretty goofy things in front of cameras, so I don't know what to make of it, but I just wanted to put it out there for you. Please do both of us a favor, check the video out for yourself using the links below, and tell me what you think in the comments section. He also states that he's at times been angry towards his parents for not allowing him to participate in the investigation when it originally happened, which kind of validates a point that I've brought up in a couple of my videos previously. That was that decision the best decision for this family? Because it really seems like it was not a good decision. Now, even according to Brian himself, he is really doubting that decision, and seeing this reversal that the family has taken of now engaging media openly, even to the point of letting the sons talk to media without their attorneys present. I think it seems like this family has learned that lesson, that maybe that advice they got from that first lawyer wasn't such good advice. This is a screenshot of the raid at the home where the mother is currently living, and that is an armored vehicle. It's kind of hard to make out because it's blocky, but there is actually a turret on top that is manned by someone, and apparently there was 20 to 30 U.S. Marshals that descended on this house to serve the search warrant. The mother thinks this is a bit overreaching. They probably could have done it with just a couple of investigators showing up and knocking at the door during a decent hour. However, there's an analyst in the news segment that talks about the fact that this could have been a, quote, blue on blue incident, where essentially you have law enforcement officials of one department potentially getting into a gunfight with law enforcement officials of another department, and it appears to me that they wanted to make a strong show of force so that they could potentially quelch any possibility of that happening. Quelch, squelch, I'm not sure if it's the right word, but that's essentially stop that from happening. Also, what's very interesting is this footage is taken from a security system installed at the Bell home, and the security system was installed by the FBI, and reportedly they did that because of the death threats that were being made towards the Bell family. Preferential treatment? You know, I mean, there's something to be said. Rick Bell is an employee of the FBI. Maybe they take care of their own like this, but I have to wonder, what about people that get death threats very regularly, like Anita Sarkeesian? Has the FBI installed a camera system at her house for her protection? I'm not quite sure. KJ's family, did they get a security system installed at their house? I don't know if they have had death threats specifically, but I know with a lot of the language that I've seen around Bell supporters, it hasn't been very pretty and probably could be construed that way. So it just really kind of hit me in a weird spot when I heard that the FBI actually installed this equipment in the house. But like I said, maybe that's just how good they treat employees. I'm not totally positive. Also, this past week, there was a bit of a kerfuffle. This is a screenshot from the Valdosta Daily Times. Valdosta, I think, is the way that it's actually pronounced. You can find a link down below to the Valdosta Daily Times. If you do a quick search, they have a search box over on the right-hand corner. Type in Kendrick Johnson. It will pull up the most recent results. Now, the three most recent results, two of them are essentially the same story, but we'll start at the bottom. KJ's family accuses officials of cover-up. And specifically, what happened was a court document was filed. It seems like the judge was asking for specifics in regards to what type of conspiracy or cover-up could have happened here. And KJ's family filed a document that named the sheriff, a school superintendent, and an FBI agent, which I believe possibly could be Rick Bell, of colluding to place KJ's body into the rolled up mat to hide the true evidence of what happened to KJ. Very bold statement, and it caused a lot of backlash very quickly. And within a few days, it was actually completely retracted, with KJ's family's lawyers saying that it was a total clerical misunderstanding. That document was not supposed to get submitted, and somehow, someone submitted it on accident. I don't know if that's totally believable. I think there is maybe some possibility that they filed it with the intent of seeing how people would respond to it and hoping that maybe that would shake something loose, and then knowing that they could retract it later. But if they're working in that mode, it probably means their case isn't looking too strong, and it's probably a bit of a smudge or a smear on the look of the attorneys from the judge's perspective. So I really don't know if they would have risked a move like that. Quite honestly, it could just have been a clerical error, but then you have to wonder about why was this document even drafted for that potential to happen. So very, very strange. Just want to round this out with looking at this website as well. I was looking for a picture of Rick Bell. There is a picture of him on LinkedIn, but this one seems a bit more recent. It looks like it is possibly at Florida State University. It's him with Brian as well as his wife. And it comes from a website that I wasn't even aware of, but it's called the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund. And essentially, if a law enforcement agent is having to represent themselves or is going through something like this, this is a fund that will accept donations and then give proceeds to that party. So if you would like to support the Bell family in some way, this is a place you can go. I have a link for it down below. I do have to say I was a bit dismayed at the way the article is written. Once again, it's very hard for me to see people try to retell this story and omit that one very critical step that the family decided not to participate in the initial investigation. And this document is very strongly worded, even calling out the Attorney General Moore as possibly being abusive towards the Bell family. And for it to have such a strong opinion and be kind of one-sided with its view about the case, that one piece of information really just, it hits me wrong. It hits me very badly. If they can't admit that they didn't participate in the initial investigation when they're retelling the story to entities like this, or like that football magazine that wanted to write that kind of, it's hard to say this, but it felt like it was kind of a sob story about Brian and his scholarship being pulled. But once again, they retell all the events around the KJ case, but they omit that one extremely big piece, which is the Bell family did not participate in the investigation. This article, which is not credited to anyone, there's no author name on here, takes things a bit further in a way that, quite honestly, I'm not real happy with. So let me just read a little bit here. LELDF is committed to supporting Rick Bell, a dedicated and productive FBI agent. Just as a side note, he is still working for the FBI. That was verified by the television station WSB-TV. He is in good standing, supposedly. It's not like they've, restricted him or sent him home or just having him on some type of leave of absence or something. He is an active agent. And his family through this nightmare. We are appalled by the abuse of Department of Justice power and waste of limited resources where both evidence of a crime and judgment seem to be in short supply. I can tell you, judgment is nowhere in short supply anywhere around this case. I deal with a lot of people on both sides of the fence about what's happening on this case, and everyone is quick to whip out judgment. I have to wonder about the author of this particular article and their statement that this is a waste of limited resources and the DOJ's time. The findings have not been, it's not done. The case is not concluded. This is a case that the police department took 4 months and apparently hit their conclusion and has now been in DOJ investigation for over 2 years. So unless you think that someone's twiddling their thumbs, it really doesn't make sense. Obviously, there's some aspects of this case that the DOJ is stuck on and they're not able to fully close this out yet. Some people might assume, because of the recent steps of these raids on the Bell family as well as the girlfriend of one of the Bell brothers, that potentially that is where this case is being stuck in its review. But the author of this article appears to know better. It comes at a time when racial tensions in the U.S. are at painfully high levels, which I think we can agree with, often at the hands of those who, quote, play the race card for their own advantage. Let me reread that whole statement. It comes at a time when racial tensions in the U.S. are at painfully high levels, often at the hands of those who play the race card for their own advantage. What the seriously? I'm sorry, I know you guys don't hear me talk like that too much, and I really try to remain objective when I'm reviewing these cases. But whoever wrote this, for you to spill that out in that way, who are you talking about? that white people play the race card? I don't think so. This article, this nameless, faceless article, essentially has a racist element built into it. And that is part of what scares me about this case. Nowhere in reviewing anything on this case, which I've reviewed this case, there are way more official documentation available. There's a lot more available on this case than there is even on the Elisa Lam case. I have not seen anything to suggest racial motivation anywhere around this case. KJ's family is not saying Rick Bell is a part of the KKK, and so is so is Sheriff Prine, and we figured out that these guys at their last Klan meeting figured out how to, roll up a body in a mat. Nothing even close. I don't know where the hell that statement comes from. I can tell you that supporters of the Bell family, when I've reviewed their communications on Twitter, I get a pretty strong pang of these people are racist. And once again, just in reading how this article is read, I get a very strong pang of this is written by someone who might not even realize how racist they actually are. That statement should not be on this document. And in particular for a document that's asking for financial donations to potentially help the Bell family. Are you basically saying that you're not going to take donations from black people? It insults me to no end that is written in that way on this page. Might not be the same for you. This might be a personal trigger for me based on some previous experience I've had. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there as I'm feeling it because that statement makes me feel like whoever wrote this is an asshole. Sorry. Now, I don't want to take away from this Legal Enforcement Defense Fund. I think what they do is somewhat admirable. Obviously there are going to be cases where a law enforcement official is accused of something, and these guys, they make decent money, but they're not millionaires, and hiring attorneys is extremely expensive. I see that there is a good, valid cause for having this type of website. I don't see that there is a good, valid cause for writing things that inflammatory, or even being as one-sided as this article generally is, which I'll even give it the exception of, except for that statement. That statement's bullshit. I'm really, really upset about it. They've actually added an update as of August 2015, and in this update they're saying that they've sent the DOJ a letter of professional responsibility outlining areas of potential misconduct by the prosecutor. So essentially they are now trying to threaten the reputation and possibly even the job of the attorney Moore that's heading this investigation and looking into this. And they even kind of slight him by saying, hey, this is a conspiracy by high schoolers that you guys can't crack. Once again, no one is saying that. I don't know who the hell wrote this piece of shit. No one is saying this is a conspiracy by high schoolers. Even in the document that was accidentally filed by KJ's family, they are talking about law enforcement officials, career men that have been in these jobs for decades, that have relationships, sometimes far-reaching, to very powerful people. The way this thing is written is insulting, and quite honestly, it's a disservice to the actual, I believe, the core reason why this Law Enforcement Defense Fund even exists. I really wish that they would reconsider writing this, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to send this video specifically to whatever emails I can find that have to do with this organization, because this is a joke. I'm sorry, it just really, really grabbed me the wrong way. So, that's it for this KJ update. I think it's unfortunate that there's been missteps from both parties. I think that it's actually a step towards a better understanding and a possible resolution now that the Bell family is actually opening up about this case, speaking honestly, speaking from the hip, and does it make me believe one way or another about their guilt or innocence? it might actually make me start feeling a bit more comfortable with the idea that they are actually innocent in this case. That maybe we're going to find out that they had nothing to do with this, and they are really truly the victims of bad legal advice and a father that maybe made a bad call about what his family should do. And should anyone go through years of turmoil and having their future completely derailed, if that's the case, I really don't think so. That is honestly a travesty to me. There is also the flip side of this, and the question of, does this potentially even hurt the cases that the Bell family has filed? They have defamation suits against Ebony Magazine for providing information about KJ's case. They never named the Bell family. They used monikers in their article, but the Bell family is saying basically everyone read that and knew who they were talking about, and it affected their family. The fact that the family has now come out and is speaking openly and engaging press, this shows a very big change in direction of their mentality and what they think is important. And can it be used in a court case to kind of diffuse their original complaint? I think it's possible. I don't know how strong it is, but I think now that they're speaking in the way that they're speaking, it might actually take some of the legs out of their defamation suit in particular. Maybe they're not as concerned about that suit, and they're more concerned about the lawsuit with KJ's family. And in that case, that would once again lead me to believe that this is a family that maybe made a bad decision, and now they're trying to put things on track and start doing things the right way to get to a good outcome. Whew, man, that's probably the most emotional I've gotten on one of these episodes before, but I'm telling you, whoever wrote that thing is a freaking joke. It's just not done right. What do you guys think? I'm going to include a link to that page so you can read through the whole thing yourself. Let me know if, hey, John, you're going overboard on this. I don't see it quite as bad as you do. Let me know if you think I'm right, and that thing is apparently as racially charged as it feels like it is to me. Or maybe there's some spot in between, some consideration that I haven't hit. As always, I really appreciate the input from all of the commenters, even things that I don't necessarily agree with, particularly if we're able to engage, because I usually do engage you guys, and if we can have a meaningful back and forth exchange that brings one of us or both of us to a better understanding of the issues at hand. Ultimately, that's why I started this show. I don't profess to know the answers, very far from it, but I'm pretty good at asking the questions, and I know that you guys are a great resource for finding all kinds of new information, all kinds of new perspectives, and I really appreciate each and every one of you for doing that. So, thank you so much for tuning into this edition of BrainScratch. I will catch you next week. I think next week is going to be a bunch of mini Scratch updates. Got a bunch of new information on the Jeffrey Lash case. And as always, during the week, I'll catch you with Johnny Vlogs and another Geek and Dorks Reviews. Have a great weekend, everyone. Take care.